Hi, I'm Gary and welcome to Jargon Free Help. Last week I talked about data roaming and someone actually wrote to me and said, what about if they've got a dongle for their mobile broadband and not a mobile phone that they're actually getting data from? Well, the same things apply. When you go overseas, you get a SIM card there. The dongle hopefully should already be unlocked and you can just put one of those in and use, again, data that is local so you're not paying through the nose. Now, this week I want to talk to you again on mobile phones, of which most of you have got one. This is an iPhone. Now, what you can do with smartphones is you can actually get them to synchronize with online services such as Google and MobileMe. MobileMe is predominantly made for the iPhone, and with that you can synchronize the iPhone by getting a MobileMe account. You can then get it every time you add something to your calendar or your contacts, it automatically saves somewhere online. You can then retrieve that by going to a website and having a look at it there so you can see your calendar and your contacts. You also get email too. Now you can also use this to find your iPhone or iPad or iPod Touch. It works on all of those and it will show you on a map where it is. You can also send an alert to the phone. It will beep and come up with a message so you could get someone to return it, or you just might hear it too. Very useful, very good for backing up. And also, like Google, like I'm about to tell you in a couple of minutes, you can actually get it to synchronize with other people. So for example, my wife has this too. So that means that we can be looking at the same contacts and also the same calendars as well. There goes my excuse for actually double booking now. So very handy. It also synchronizes with Outlook. So anything that you change on Outlook or on the website, or if you're using iCal or the address book on the Mac, all synchronizes together. Whichever one of them changes, automatically changes on all the others. It's done online. They refer to online as the cloud, but that's where your data is being stored. So if you lose your phone, you've got your data immediately there. Now, the only thing about MobileMe is you do have to pay for it, but it's well worth it, and you can do a 60-day trial by going to www.me.com. Now, if you don't want to pay for it, there is Google, but it does have its failings if you're using the mail on it as well, if you want that. The mail does work, but if you're using it with what's known as Exchange, then the mail, well, you can't really see all your folders very easily. But you can synchronize your calendars and your contacts in the same way as you do with MobileMe. Now, to do that, you just need to have a Google account, which some of you will have. So if you've got Google Mail, you're already halfway there. You need to have calendars as well, and you can have multiple calendars, and again you can share them across multiple computers, and again you can synchronize it with Outlook, iCal and Address Book as well as your mobile phones, including Blackberries, Nokias, and also with iPhones as well. So very, very useful to have. So once you've set up your Google account and you've set up your calendars and so on, the instructions for actually setting up mobiles you can actually find on www.google.com/mobile/sync, and that will show you exactly how to set up each of your individual phones. So you can do it for an iPhone, BlackBerry and Nokia, and I'm sure there's more coming soon as well. You can also set it up for Outlook, iCal and the address book too. That way you can access it either online, you can access it through your phone or through your computer, and they all stay in sync just like with MobileMe. It doesn't have a Find Your iPhone, but nevertheless, still very good. I actually use both. My wife and I use it, and therefore we don't actually have clashes with our diaries. So that's how you can actually back up your phones, keep all your data stored online. In fact, you don't even need to have a phone if it's just on your computer as well. You now have a backup online. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do backups of your computer or your phone. You should still continue to do those because it backs up additional information as well. So with all of that in mind, go and have a look at it. It's really useful to use. And now we're going to take a look at what this week's app of the week is. This week's app of the week, and speaking of syncing calendars and things, we're actually looking at Saisuke, which is available on the iPhone, and it's a neat little app for synchronizing calendars that's a lot easier, in fact, to set up than using the Microsoft Exchange. And why not use both? So that's a very useful app to have. Now let's take a look at what this week's tutorials are. So this week's tutorial, I've added one for resizing pictures, which is very useful because your picture might be too big to fit into a document, or it might be a bit too big to email. So having control over the size of it, which controls the file size and how many pixels, so how big it actually appears on screen, is very useful. And that tutorial has been added this week. Next week, I'm going to be meeting someone who's a Twitter expert. Now, I followed his advice on Twitter, and it's very, very useful, and it does work. But a lot of you don't know what Twitter is really all about, and a lot of people really dismiss it. And I have to say, by just following Mark Shaw's advice, who I'll be interviewing, I have found out a lot about it. And he's willing to share that information with us, so I'm going to meet with him next week. So come back next week and find out all about Twitter. Thanks for watching, and happy computing.